Okay, welcome to this tutorial and introduction of the new Book of Mormon course in January. I want to just walk you through a few things and show you some quick tips and tricks to help get your class ready to go before you publish it for your students in January. And there's some things that we've incorporated into this that we hope will make this easier on you as a teacher and your students and get rid of the clutter and some different things. So first of all, just so you can see on the home page, it should look like this. And if you go down, we've put right away the weekly lessons and activities. So if students were to go to the home page, they quickly can just click on the week and it'll take them into modules right to that week's lesson. Down below, you're going to need to update this Canvas Scripture Study schedule. You want to put each week of our class. We'll study in Canvas on these days, and our class gatherings will be on these days and times and links if you have those. Something really cool that I invite you to pay attention to as well is there's actually built into this a devotional sign-up sheet. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, but your students, you could just invite them to go here and they'll click on that and they'll just be able to sign up for a day to give devotional as you get in your gatherings, and that could be super helpful, and we hope that that's helpful. We also included the required selected readings for the Book of Mormon first semester here, so students can see those and have a quick link to go study those if they want. And if you have some new students that need some help, you have the Before You Study and How to Study, great resources there that will help a new student get started in some of the right ways. And then if you scroll down on the homepage, you have this syllabus. And the course syllabus, the nice thing about this course is it's mostly already for you and done. All the due dates are in, all of the lessons are assigned those dates and given those things, so it's automatically updated in the calendar. All you are going to need to do is before you get this ready to be published, you need to look at your own pacing guide and make sure that you've determined which classes you're going to be teaching and which ones you're not, which ones are going to be the live gathering and that you're not going to do it online. And you need to make those adjustments before you publish this so that when students go here, they're just seeing what they need to do to be successful. And so you'll see January 2nd has the title page and the class community. So students can just go here and click right on it. Really easy. I'll show you how to update these things so that you're ready for your January start. So that's what the homepage looks like. Super intuitive and super helpful. Now let me show you one more thing that's new this semester. Right here we have a link for the Gospel Library Notebook, and this is kind of exciting. We really want to encourage our students to be keeping notes in a journal as they study, and the Gospel Library Notebook is a great place to do it. And so you have a link right here for students to use. There's also links right at the beginning of every lesson for them to open up their study journal in the Gospel Library and to be able to start taking notes. And so that's something that we're excited to incorporate there. Help your students really try to use that and make good use of it. Next, if we go to the modules, just click over to modules. I just want to share this getting started checklist for the teacher. This is really important for you to go through to get your class ready and get it going. And I'll kind of model some of these things for you, but I want to show you what this looks like really quick. If I click on that, if you are new teacher, there might be some good resources here. Brand new, it might help you out. If you're a returning teacher, part 2 and part 3 is what you mainly want to focus on for getting your course ready and publishing it. Step 1 is preparing your initial lessons. That's, again, going through and looking at your pacing guide. If you don't have a pacing guide that your coordinator is giving you, I've attached a pacing guide here that you can download and look at to help you plan out your semester. Look at the days that you won't have class and that there's holidays, and you want to adjust your lessons and publish and unpublish things according to that. The nice thing about the setup of this course is all you're going to need to really do is to unpublish things or move things and change the due dates. You don't really need to do any publishing. It's all ready for you. You just need to make sure you take out and unpublish and take out the due dates for classes that you won't be asking them to do online. And so that's what's really, really nice. And then this gives you some good advice for deciding what classes you might not teach in a week if you don't have 5 days, and how to move things around if needed. One thing that you are going to for sure need to move and decide where you're going to do it, and you probably want to do this at the beginning of the semester and just have it there ready and set up, is your assessment. Number one, it's placed right now in the June 3rd to 9th module, but if you're planning on completing the assessments as a class gathering day, you're going to want to unpublish that. If you're going to have your students do the assessment online, then you're going to want to change and move that assessment where it belongs and change the due dates and everything according to it before the semester starts. So here's some tips on how to move those things, and I'll give you some more. You may want to, this is something that we found that is really, really helpful. One of our hopes is to encourage students to study the scriptures daily. And online seminary is no different from in-person, where we want to keep encouraging that and set up our class to do so. And so one thing that really can help you to do that is if you just look at your pacing guide before the semester and go into the lessons and just update the availability of the dates, the starting and end date of the availabilities. That is going to help you a lot to help your students stay on track, so that they know, hey, I only have a day or 2 days that is going to be open. I can't just wait until the weekend and try to procrastinate and cram it all in at once. And so you're going to want to update all the availability dates, beginning and end dates, before you get the school year rolling. And I'll show you a few tips on how to do that quickly. Step 2 of this is update your course homepage and gathering devotional sign up page, which is going to be really helpful. And so this gives some ideas on how to do that and how to go through that. And there is some direction too on how to do these devotionals on this sign up page. So go look at that. That will be helpful, so you know what to do. And then just a good idea here to publish your course and give a welcome to your students and introduce yourselves and communicate to them in multiple different ways. We talked about you can do this often through Canvas, but also Wise has the ability that you can send blasts out to your students, and if they put their information in, and to all the parents. So you might take advantage of the system in Wise, and I'm going to be doing a little training and videos on that before the semester starts as well. So I hope that helps. That's what you should look at to get things going. I want to give you a few helps out there. So if we go back to modules here, I want to give you a few helps to make that process quick and painless for you. So there's a few different ways you can do this. I want to show you the calendar. If you go to the calendar, and you got to make sure over here in the right-hand side, I have a whole lot of calendars because I'm part of a lot of classes, but you got to make sure that your calendar is clicked on so that you can see the calendar. So right now I have the Book of Mormon class calendar clicked on in January of 2024, and it's showing me the due dates and the links to the lessons that are due on those specific days. And so if I look through here, there's a few things that I could do. If I was deciding that I need to move something around, here's the nice thing. You don't have to go into the lesson per se to change the due dates. You can simply just click this and drag it, and it will update everything for you. The due dates in the lesson, the due dates on the syllabus, it will update and say, whoa, this is due now on the 15th at this time. If you want to drag it back, put it back there, you just drag it back and it will drop in there again. And so this is a really quick way. If you need to change a few lessons around, just drag them on the calendar, and you don't have to go into every specific lesson to change that due date. You just put it on the calendar on the due date, and it will update it automatically for you. So that's super, super helpful. Another thing that you could do is, if you want to change anything quick about the due dates, this is just another way that I'm going to show you. You can click on it and click edit, and you can just change due date or the time that you're going to say it's due as well, really quick, and then just submit that if you made any changes. So those are a few ideas to really quickly move things around if you need to in your lesson. Now, if in your semester, if you are going to not be teaching some classes because you just don't have as much time in the week that week. I want to share that this is really important to not clutter up your students' modules and where they're going to get information. You're going to want to be sure to unpublish and take the due date off of that lesson. So a quick way that you can take the due date off is just clicking on the lesson here in the calendar, and you just go down again to the bottom and you click edit and just delete this due date. Just delete it out and submit it, and it will take that off. And that will translate to in the syllabus. If the students look at the syllabus, it will no longer have a due date, and anything that does not have a due date, it just throws it at the very bottom of the list on that syllabus in the chronological order that it gives. But you also want to go back into modules for anything that you're not going to teach, and you're going to want to make sure to unpublish it. So let's say if I was going to not teach First Nephi 2, that I was going to do that in my Zoom gathering, I would want to unpublish that because I don't want students to see it and get confused with what they're doing. So I would unpublish that so they don't think they need to do that on this day because we're having the class that day. And then what I would also do is, again, go back to the calendar. So that's First Nephi 2. That would unpublish. I would go back to the calendar and I would make sure I get rid of this due date. So just click on there, go to edit, delete that due date, submit, and it just disappears off the calendar too, so students don't look at it and be like, oh, I have to do that lesson that day. So that's some really quick ways to help move things around and do that. But again, make sure that you unpublish anything in the course modules that you do not want your students to see and make them feel like they need to do. And I would do that if you can, look at your pacing guide and just do it for the whole semester. That way you're just set up and ready to go. Now, the nice thing too about how this new course is set up is that each week's modules are locked, where students will not be able to get into them until Monday morning of that week. And so they'll be locked 5 a.m. It will open up for them, and students can start doing the things that you've assigned them to do that week. And so that's a really, really nice feature that's there. So you can make all the changes you want to as a teacher in these, but students won't be seeing or have availability to any of the lessons in here until it's unlocked on that date. Now, if you never ever needed to change that, you just go up to the module heading right here, click on these three dots, go to edit, and you can change the lock date and time if you want to. But Monday morning seems to work really good, and it's set up so where you shouldn't have to worry about it. I want to show you a few places, another place that you could go if you want to switch around some dates and whatnot. That is helpful. If I go to the assignments tab over here, all right, you see here, and this is really nice. This is a new feature this semester. It didn't really work this way in the semesters in the past. Right here, all of the assignments, whether it's a quiz or a discussion page or an assignment page, they all show up right here, and you can edit things in there. Now, to do that, up here in the upper right hand corner next to add assignment, click on three dots and click edit assignment dates. And again, this is just an alternate way besides using the calendar to do some of these updates. Whatever works best for you could be helpful. So right here, as you see, it just has all of these lessons that are in order from the days that they're assigned set there. And so if you wanted to change something or to get rid of due dates or anything, or change the due dates, you simply just you scroll down and you find the class that you want to in the semester and make that change. You can add all the available from and until dates. So let's say if I really wanted to help my students stay on track and not get behind and make it easier for me as a teacher to track what they're doing, I really would suggest that you really control the dates that your students can see lessons and do lessons. So for example, if I were to assign on January 2nd, the title page lesson, then I would do this as a teacher. I would go in and I would click that is available from, the 2nd at 12 a.m. So right off in the early morning it opens, and I would make it available to the 2nd, and it's nice because it automatically does it for you if you're doing it the same day. Opens it at midnight and closes at 11:59 that same day, that night. I would just set up all of my lessons to open and close at least the same day or no more than 2 days. So do each one that they can open and close in 2 days. But if you do it the same day, this is what happens. You teach your students that they need to find time that day to do a lesson, whatever days you assign them, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever their Canvas days are, and that they need to make it a priority to find time in that day and a schedule in that day to do their lessons. And it's only going to be open for that day. If they miss it, then it will become makeup work later on. Kind of like when you just are in an in-person classroom. If you don't make it that day, well, you were just absent. This is important for a few ways, and I just encourage you to consider doing this. Number one is it's much better for students if we're going to help them to really create daily scripture study habits and build into their schedule that daily study throughout the week, like seminary is meant to help us. Then controlling when they can do it and see it is very helpful in that way. If you don't, then a lot of students will just wait until one day and do a lot at one time. And that's not really the goal that we're trying to accomplish in seminary, is just do a whole lot on one day. So the second benefit is, as teachers, it helps you a lot. If you control when your students can see it and complete it each day, then all you simply have to do to take attendance is that next morning, just go in, look at who completed the lesson and have your interaction, take attendance, and you're done. You don't have any more of like having to go back and try to figure out who completed lessons where and what they've done. And it's just simply, hey, did they complete it that day? You take attendance and you move on. And then in the future, if they ask for makeup work, you just can open things up for makeup work. So would highly suggest taking advantage of controlling when you make your lessons available. This doesn't change the published or unpublished. The lesson is still published, but when you change the availability date, simply it just changes whether or not your students can get to that published assignment or not, and when they can. So very good tool, very helpful tool. Now, one of the last things that I want to share with you that might be helpful is back in modules. So if we click back to modules, I want to share this with you. You'll see these locks by some of the lessons, especially a lot of this introductory stuff. But as you go throughout, like the assess your learning, let me see if I can find one. Assess your learning lessons have this lock by it. That is there because we have been asked by seminaries and institutes to not change those lessons or modules at all. So if it has this little lock by it, as a teacher, you are asked not to go in and change anything to that. Leave it exactly how it is and just share it with the students, but don't go make changes to that page. Now, all these other lessons you can see, go make changes, adapt them, have your teacher presence as you need to. But these few lessons that are locked, or these introductory things, they ask you not to change. Now, I do want to show you something here that we've put in that's new this semester as well. How to be successful in online seminary. If I click that, let's go there real quick. Just want to show you some of these things. You might want to share this with your students and have them do this, maybe even before the first day of class. So this, a lot of times we get questions of like, how do we help students know, and what's the expectation of online seminary, and what does it look like? Well, this outlines it right here. And it gives them some ideas on how to get the most out of seminary and the expectations of it. So how can I create a sacred time and study space? Again, it reminds them that they need to create a sacred space, a sacred time to focus on those things and to be doing seminary at a certain time each day and have a schedule for themselves. Secondly, these ideas for meaningful study experiences. These are kind of really cool. So if we're in the study area, it just shows what the expectation is of what students should do during their study time. It should be about 40 minutes a day. They listen to a song and say in a prayer. Students typically spend about 25 to 30 minutes studying and 10 minutes writing what they learned. They need to set these daily habits, and it gives some suggestions here. And use the Gospel Library Notebook. Here's a short little video that introduces how to do that study and a quick little example in just a couple minutes of what a study period should look like. This would be great to help set the stage for your students to know what the expectation is. But if you click on Ponder here, there's some other good thoughts of what they could do to help their study. But I love this in the share portion. There's some helps here. Sometimes students will ask, well, what do I need to do on an assignment page or a quiz page or a discussion page? Well, the sweet thing here is right now there's a quick little video that explains exactly the expectation of what to accomplish on each type of page. So if you watch this, it's going to tell you exactly what you need to do for assignment pages, exactly what quiz pages look like and what you need to do to get credit for completing a quiz page, and exactly what you need to do to contribute to a discussion page and post something on that page. And then it actually gives some good examples of discussion posts and tries to build, hey, this is an expectation. We want you to give more than just a little bit. Some of these might be a little long, but we want multiple sentences and we want some meaningful thought going into this. And then down here too, making most of the discussions and stuff, there's a few thoughts to help with that. And then participating in an online class, there's some helps with Zoom and other resources there too. So highly recommend this. This could be really, really helpful, especially for new students as they're getting started to how to be successful in your online class. All right, a few other tips and tricks that might be helpful to help your students know exactly what's required on each day and what they're doing. There's some teachers that say that they like to go into each module and they'll just go in here and they'll edit the name and put the day of the week that they're supposed to do. So you just click edit right here. So if title page of the Book of Mormon is supposed to be done on a Tuesday, you could just go back here and say Tuesday and update that. And all of a sudden they see. That way, when they go back and they're trying to figure out what they missed or anything on absent days, and for you as a teacher too, having that in there, it could be really easy to see what students missed on which days and what they need to make up. So that's just an idea too that you might want to update as well, if that would be something that's helpful. All right, I want to show you another quick tip in WISE, that if you've had a hard time communicating with parents and students about what lessons are due on which days, and if they miss them, which ones they need to make up and all that. Actually, there's a function in WISE that's really, really helpful that could help you have great communication better with parents and students and everybody on what you're doing each day. And so I just want to show that real quick. If you go into WISE in your class and you click on this far tab over here, Lessons, this is going to pull up for you right here. And so I'll just show you if there's days that I want to assign a lesson to that day, saying that's what we were doing that day, I simply can just do this. I can just click on, let's say I want to work on that first week first. So the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. The lessons that right here it has that I have these dates ready to assign. I like clicking on only unassigned. That way when I start to assign things, it gets rid of things I've already assigned. So if I click on that, that would be helpful. Now, January 3rd, if I was starting, I want to start with the title page of the Book of Mormon according to my pacing guide. So I just drag it and I drop it there. Save the changes really quick. And then the next lesson would be Introduction to the Book of Mormon. So I would just, on my pacing guide, drag and drop. And we'll do the last one. Joseph Smith Testimony we would do on the 5th, and drag and drop. Now I can continue to do this. I just go up and I click on new days, the days that I'm going to have class, and just assign a lesson to it. That way, what this does is that parents can now have access to what their students are doing as well, because this is attached to myseminary.churchofjesuschrist.org. So if a student or a parent or even priesthood leaders or anybody goes into My Seminary, they would be able to see exactly what lessons they did on which days and what they missed and what they need to make up. And so that's a really cool tool if you want to use that. I know in online, sometimes it's hard to have that communication with parents and make sure everybody's on the same page. And so this could be very, very helpful. It doesn't, as you can see, it only take you about 5 10 minutes if you have a pacing guide ready to look at to accomplish. All right, one more thing that I wanted to share as you think about next semester and how you might be able to get messages out and communication with your families. There's another feature in WISE, messaging feature in WISE. To get there, just as you're in your class, you just go right down here to messaging in WISE, and it will bring up a page like this. So first, you got to choose a category of what type of message do you want to send. Do you want to send it? You'll probably just have class and student choice. If you were a stake supervisor, you would probably have program choice as well. You can send it to a whole stake program. Messages out to parents and students on this one. So let's say we wanted to actually send a message to our class, our whole class. You got to make sure you select the class. You can do a custom message where you just are going to write in down here the email or the text message that you want to send out. It does have the capability of sending a message of both. Now, just a reminder, this is not a two-way conversation message. This is just a informational blast send out message. So if you're expecting to get responses back, this is not how you would want to send out the communication, unless you shared in here, hey, please respond to my email or my phone or something like that. Now, there are some messages that you can just automatically choose to have a send out. So I don't know if you knew that this was a possibility, but you can actually send out a message every day about absences. So if you have students that are absent, you can just send an absent message out each day just to letting parents know. You can send it to the guardians here, letting parents know that their child was not in seminary that day. Now, this might be super helpful in online. They use this a lot in release time seminary because if kids are absent, that's kind of like skipping school, right? But in an online situation, you might want to use it too, because sometimes parents don't know what their children really are doing if they are completing assignments. And I've heard often where we get to the end of a semester and all of a sudden parents are like, I had no idea that my student wasn't completing their online assignments or whatnot. So if you have that challenge and you want to get around that, it might be a good idea to send absent emails out each day, but let your parents know, hey, I'm sending these messages just for good communication. I'm not trying to like send these to be like, hey, your kid missed, but more just, hey, they're absent and I just want to have good communication, let you know that they're absent and you just know how often your kid is participating. And so that could be really helpful. Let's just practice with that one. You can choose to just send out a preferred contact, either an email or a text, whatever the family had chosen, or you can click here and choose to just send an email or just a text. Either way, you can do it. All right, it will give you a little update of what that message looks like. If that's not your phone number, don't worry about it. It's probably just the phone number of whoever the coordinator or principal is over your situation. I would actually encourage parents to go to my seminary for that information or reach out to you in that. But you can also have this text message. You can add any additional message to a form message that's going to be sent out. Once you do it and everything's all ready, I forgot to share this. You need to choose who it's going to go to. And so over here, I would just click on this if I wanted to go to all. Obviously, we haven't taken attendance, so it's not showing any kids that were absent. But you would click on this if you wanted to go to the whole class, or it would show just little boxes for each student that you can just click on each student for sending messages. You could also just choose to send messages to students or parents as well through this. And you can put a date here. All right, jumping back into Canvas on the modules page, just at the very bottom, I wanted to just introduce these two resources you have as a teacher. Not meant to be published or shared with students at all. This is just for you as a teacher. But again, there's guidelines for adopting and adapting online curriculum. I would pay attention to that and make sure you just know the guidelines for that. Some suggestions for online teachers that could be helpful. Guidelines for successful online teaching. Super helpful as you're trying to think of what are the things that have just been proven to help success happen in an online classroom. And then I really like this area too, this teacher frequently asked questions. There's just a few questions here that can give you some ideas if you look at them. how to improve, how do I encourage my students to turn on their cameras over Zoom, encourage my students to do Canvas lessons. There's just some great tips and ideas that are in here. And so take advantage of that as you need to as well throughout the semester. All right, I told you I'd tell you more about the devotional sign up page. And to do that, let me just show you on the home page here. We go back, click here to sign up to give a devotional. It's going to take us to this page. Now, there's some helps here for students, but also for you as a teacher on how to do so. And so something that you're going to have to do as a teacher, you want to pay attention to this and look at this video, but you're going to need to go in here and edit this and put in some of this information, put in your dates and things. And so that students, as they come in here and do this, they'll be able to edit. This is a page that's editable by all your students. So let your students know, hey, don't mess anything up. Just edit what you need them to edit. But you can set up devotionals for the entire month, or just do it all at one time. If there's anything on this page you want to get rid of and get out of the way, you could delete it, and so your students don't see it. But we hope this to be a huge help in your gathering devotional organization. So again, if I was getting this ready for my students, I would go edit the page before I started this semester, and I just come down here, and in January I would just type in the dates of the days that we're going to have our gatherings and have a devotional, and invite students to sign up for the opening prayer, the scriptural devotional, and the closing prayer, and ask them to fill up those days. And if they choose not to fill it up, you can do whatever you want. But this, again, just hope this is super helpful. And then students will go in here and edit this and put their names in there, and you can see what they have put.